Anybody approaching 65 knows it's around this time that the
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Hello, everybody. How are my peeps doing? Welcome aboard.
Paul Fleming is in the house from Powder Springs at Georgia. We also have in the house the one and only Breach MCP from Binghamton, New York, upstate New York. And of course, we have Michael Rudnin. Michael Rudnin is from Brooklyn, New York. And in the house as well, we have, let me see, todo está perfecto ahí. We also have in the house Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, as well as Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. It's kind of slow for people getting in. Slow for people getting in, but I know they will be here. They will be here. Hope you're perfect. Yes, we're perfect. As well, we have El Señor E2247 in the house. Great to see you, E2247. Let's see what else we got here now. Paul Fleming starts. He says, a man is nothing without his conscience, Wilson wrote in a resignation letter obtained by the Herald Times. His resignation came 7 days after he sent cease and desist letters to Florida TV stations and threatened to prosecute them if they did not take down ads in support of an abortion rights ballot measure. The cease and desist letter are now the subject of a federal lawsuit. I don't know that particular story, but thanks for bringing it. Paul Fleming also says, our free speech and votes are under attack. Another Mark Elias and team win. Break in a win for voters. A federal judge tosses out the RNC's lawsuit seeking to purge allegedly ineligible voters from Michigan rolls. Voting rights groups said the lawsuit threatens to disenfranchise eligible voters. That's all they've got. Voter suppression. That's how they win. Voter suppression. All right, let's see what else we have here. AOC Trump at McDonald's, Musk giving away millions, then making fun of us. You've got McDonald Trump putting out a little McDonald's costume because he thinks that's what people do. She claimed. I mean, look, Donald Trump is a sham artist. We should know that. So thanks for pointing that out, Eric Hayes. I'm glad you pointed out something that she says, right? Ah, ha, ha, ha. All right, E2247 says, day 382 of the war, 42,718 Gazans killed, 893 persons more than day 365, at least 100,282 wounded, 3,372 persons more than day 365, 143,000 casualties. That's a shame. It continues. Maywood is in the house from Long Beach, California. Yvette Avery Herod is in the house from Atlanta, Georgia. Great to see you, our beautiful Yvette Avery. What else have we got here? These stats do not include nearly 1,000 Palestinians in the occupied territory. I understand that, my dear brother. Thank you for keeping us and keeping it on the front. Yesterday, we were supposed to see the implosion of Lindsey Graham. So that's where I'm going to start before we get moving. By then, we should have more people in to get to the more substantive and serious stuff. But I just want you to see Lindsay and my commentary thereafter. Let's get busy. Senator Lindsey Graham went into hyperventilation mode again when Kristen Welker told him about or reminded him about what the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, Mark Milley, had to say about Donald Trump, where he called him a fascist. He went berserk. He went into one of the largest forms of hyperventilation and ridiculous statements that one can hear. Let me just play this for you first, and then we'll go into some very specifics, because I think one of the things that's important here is that what Democrats have allowed is for Republicans to create a false narrative, and then the Democrats have to sit back and defend against the false narrative. I'm going to talk about that, but let's let him hyperventilate, and we'll take it on the other side.
Let me tell you what retired four-star General Mark Milley, someone who you have praised in the past, has had to say about Donald Trump. Of course, he's Donald Trump's former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He told Bob Woodward in a new book, quote, "No one has ever been as dangerous to this country as Donald Trump. Now I realize he's a total fascist, a fascist to the core. Why shouldn't voters trust Donald Trump's top general on this, Senator?"
He has a right to his opinion, but this is the man who oversaw 20 years of training of the Afghan Iraqi army that folded like a cheap suit. I like General Milley, but I disagree with him. You know what I fear? I fear 4 more years of Biden-Harris policy. I fear holding Israel back so they can't win the war they have to win to survive. I fear 4 more years of holding Ukraine back, 4 more years of broken borders, 4 more years of not drilling for oil and gas, 4 more years of high food prices. The threat to the world is the policies of this administration. To General Milley, you have a right to your opinion, but I don't fear Donald Trump. I fear what's going on in the world today. If you want the world to stay on fire, vote for her. If you want to keep paying high prices for everything it costs to live, vote for her.
But Senator, you've known General Milley for years. You've said you have deep admiration and total confidence.
I think he's wrong.
John Kelly, his former chief of staff, has said that former President Trump was telling him to go after his opponents repeatedly. Here he was always telling me that we need to use the FBI and IRS to go after people. It was
these
constant,
are Democratic
obsessive
talking points. I think they're wrong.
He's the former chief of staff.
I think they're wrong. I think they're totally wrong. It was Joe Biden who got us out of Afghanistan that led to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It was Kamala Harris, the border czar, that opened up our border to 10 million illegal immigrants running wild, women getting raped and killed, terrorists residing in our backyard. It was their decision to stop energy production, making us more energy independent. It was their decision to abandon Israel at their time of need when it came to weapons.
Senator, the U.S. is making more energy than
I think these generals are wrong.
They worked for Donald Trump.
You know what? I know.
They worked for former President Trump. These are former Trump administration
to every Republican
officials
supporting her. What the hell are you doing? You're supporting the most radical nominee in the history of American politics. The Green New Deal, Medicare for all. She was the last person in the room before Biden decided to withdraw from Afghanistan. She was the border czar. She cast the tie-breaking vote for the Inflation Reduction Act that gives you high prices. What are you doing? You're trying to convince me that Donald Trump's rhetoric is the danger to this country. The danger to this country is the policies of Biden and Harris. Her fingerprints are all over this disaster. And I can't take 4 more years of this crap.
All right.
When you support her, you're supporting 4 more years of garbage policy.
Senator,
all right. Look, here is the issue. Lindsey Graham wants to deflect away from Mark Milley pointing out the reality that Trump is a fascist. He also doesn't want to talk about all the different ridiculous statements, the size of men's genitalia, going to arrest people who he doesn't like. I mean, all the crazy things that Trump says and means, Lindsey doesn't want to talk about it. Instead, he wants to talk about, was your life better 4 years ago? And here's the problem. What Republicans spent the entire Biden administration of doing is giving Americans the false sense of what the economy was and then attaching that to their personal experiences. But here is the interesting thing. The question, were you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Absolutely so. We were in a pandemic that was exacerbated by Donald Trump. So the answer to that is absolutely yes. But Democrats are scared to say it because, again, prices are higher in the grocery stores, which means people are paying more than they used to before. The question, again, should be asked, who caused and why was there inflation? The inflation, the path to inflation started because Donald Trump mismanaged the pandemic, which created all the avenues for price increases. So yes, you are hurting because of inflation created by the path laid out by Donald Trump. He talks about, I want to get back to the path of energy independence. Well, wake up. While you guys have been lying to Americans about our lack of energy independence, realize that we have been drilling more under Biden-Harris than we had under Donald Trump. We have produced more oil under Biden-Harris than Donald Trump, even though I'm not really happy about that. But that is the reality. You speak about Ukraine. It is the Republicans who have tried to deny Ukraine the ability to defend themselves against Russia. Why? Because your guy, Donald Trump, is a sycophant for Putin, who loves Russia. You talk about Israel, even as much as we don't want the administration to be given all this cash to, or all these bombs to Israel. Hey, guess what? It's Biden who has been giving Netanyahu, the war criminal, the ability to continue bombing and all the bombing he's doing in Gaza, the West Bank, and Lebanon. So it seems to me like so far, all the things that you have pointed out are things that the administration is doing well with, and you guys failed at immigration. It is Donald Trump who, again, let's remember, failed to support the policies or give the green light to his people to support the policies that a conservative decided to go ahead and stop the immigration problems. And for those who say, but weren't there 10 million people who came through the border? Yeah, it's something that needed to be solved, but it needed bipartisanship to solve it in any effective manner. But the one thing America wasn't going to do is America wasn't going to do that thing as taking kids away from their parents and doing the inhumane thing. That's not who we are. What we did under Biden was the humane thing. So look, the one mistake Democrats made during this election is to allow, and it wasn't just during this election, it was previous to the election, and the media has been complicit in it, and that is allowing Trump to paint a narrative of him having a great economy. It wasn't near the top. Even Carter had a better GDP than Trump, but it's worse. The Democrats allowed Donald Trump to create a false sense of his economy, which was really, it started out as a continuation of the Obama economy. He did no changes to change the path that Biden was on, other than flunking handling the COVID pandemic, which was the genesis of inflation, which was the genesis of the largest loss in employment. In fact, Donald Trump is the only president who went into office in recent history who went into office and had more workers than when he left office. And even if we include the pandemic, and rather we exclude the pandemic, the economy with job creation, with GDP, and all these other factors outpaced the Biden, or rather the Trump economy. So for those who are voting on the economy, it is only using gullibility and believing Donald Trump's narrative that is false, that is lying, that one could vote for Donald Trump, expecting there to be a better outcome in both the economy, immigration, energy, or the support for our allies. And if you doubt that, look overseas to see what it is that people fear the most. Look, the thing about it isn't that Donald Trump is gonna be doing. Donald Trump comes into power, he will wreck the economy. He will wreck our the kindness that people feel for Americans abroad. He will simply wreck the country. And that's not hyperbole. That's a statement of fact based on what he says and based on what he has done. Absolutely so. Donald Trump is a one-person wrecking ball, including not only wrecking economies, but wrecking people's lives. Michael Redden says, Egberto, long one. I think Trump's enemies from within and saying he'd use our military against American against his political opposition is one of the worst and most fascist things he's ever repeated, said KW Verify Fact Check. Yes, Trump said he'd use the military against Americans he called the enemy from within. Yes, Donald Trump said he'd use the military against America. He's called the enemy from within. Former President Donald Trump has said he would use the military against Americans who he referred to as the enemy from within in multiple interviews, as Vice President Kamala Harris claimed on October 13th during an interview with Fox News with Maria Bartiromo. Trump was asked if he is expecting chaos on election day. The former president said he was not anticipating mayhem from the side that votes for Trump, but from what he called the enemy from within. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. I can't read all of that, but you get the picture. You get the picture. Finish reading it, guys, in the chat. All right, what else we got here? Vri says Wall stated that no one can use the military against it. The what is it? Posse comitatus. Yes, it shouldn't be able to do that, except if you call martial law. That's the exception. Radnin, but it's okay to use. I don't know what that is. All right, let's see what else we got here. Anyhow, if you want to see a stark difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris as far as helping the middle class or being able to answer a question, a TikTok influencer popped up in my TikTok just before I came online. And I said, you know what? Let me process this real quick to give you guys a taste of this TikToker. TikToker, very good job.
Here's the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on American jobs. Let's start with Kamala Harris.
For far too long, our nation has encouraged only one path to success, a four-year college degree. Our nation needs to recognize the value of other paths, additional paths, such as apprenticeships and technical programs. So as president, I will get rid of the unnecessary degree requirements for federal jobs to increase jobs for folks without a four-year degree, understanding that requiring a certain degree does not necessarily talk about one's skills. And I will challenge the private sector to do the same.
Okay, so I think that's a great way to provide more job opportunities to Americans. And I think it's something that both Republicans and Democrats can agree on. Eliminating the four-year college degree requirement for federal jobs and encouraging the private sector to do the same because, yeah, it should be based on your skill. Trump, what do you got?
What actions will you take to ensure that our jobs stay in America so we can continue to build the best cars in the world here in Michigan?
So pretty much as we've been saying, and what I want to do is I want to be able to look your business. Years ago in this area, I was honored as the man of the year. It was maybe 20 years ago. Oh, and the fake news heard about it. They said, it never happened. It never happened. And I didn't know who it was. It was a group that honored me as man of the year. The fakers back there, see the fake news? But they said, oh, and they looked and it, they said it never happened, but I said, I swear to you, it happened. It did happen. I was man of the year. And I came and I made a speech and I said, why do you allow them to take your car business away? Why do you allow it to happen? They're taking your business away. And I didn't know too much about it. All I know is they were taking your car industry away from you. They said it never happened. And lo and behold, somebody said, I remember the event, and then we found out and we had everything. We got the awards. We had everything. It did happen, but I gave a speech which at the time was pretty controversial.
The question was, what actions will you take to ensure that jobs stay in America? Man of the year, huh? Eliminating four-year college degree for federal jobs? Man of the year. This guy is so cognitively impaired that he can't even answer a simple question. All he does is talk about himself. And even then, he's making shit up. The award he claims to have won doesn't even exist. And yet 45% of Americans want to vote for this guy because they think he's going to be good on jobs. Yeah, okay.
It is, I mean, this just proves what Patrick Magner said a few days ago. There are other reasons why people vote for this guy, and it has nothing to do with his competence. It has nothing to do with his intellect. It has everything to do with the concern that a country moving forward helps all, gives all equity, and that doesn't sit well with a particular group of folks that really are not interested in that. So let's understand what's going on here. Let's really understand what's going on here. I tell you, folks, this election is important, very important. And if we go out there and vote, if we do our job, that landslide that I talk about would, in effect, happen. It's there. If women do as we expect women to do, and specifically, if all women that we know will be impaired by what Donald Trump's policies would be, if older people understand that you can't give the kinds of tax cuts and type of economic policies that Trump would like to give and keep Social Security solvent and keep Medicare solvent, you just can't do it under the premises, under the tutelage of Donald Trump. This should be a landslide. Folks, don't be hoodwinked. This is the time where all the fake stuff is coming out from Elon Musk and all these other folks who care nothing about you. Don't be hoodwinked. Just go in there and know who you must vote for to make your life a better life. I'm not even pulling any punches. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote against your own interest. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote against your health care. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote against your Social Security. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote against your Medicare. And we can go on and on and on again. And the most dangerous things for me to be able to say after this election, if for some reason it doesn't go the way it should, is remember you have dug yourself the hole. Because we know what is best for America. We do know that. All of you watching me know what's best for America. All right, let's see. Bleach MCP says 6 year. Let's see. 6-year-old child. Let me read what Eric says because it looks like we don't have inflation because the people are living too well. No, we have inflation because Donald Trump mismanaged the pandemic, which caused a collapse. And by the way, Ronald Reagan doesn't have any particular knowledge about what really causes inflation. He was another dummy that we elected with a big mouth. All right, Bleach MCP says 6-year-old child asks a Republican candidate about his favorite farm animal. I'll tell you what I love. I love cows. But if we go with Kamala, you won't have any cows anymore. The former president responded to the child. I don't want to ruin the kid's day. He then called Harris a radical left lunatic. The guy doesn't have anything, man. He doesn't have anything. What can I say? Carl Cox says Eric Hayes is caused when the cost of living goes up and wages don't go to pay for the goods and services. Exactly. And it also occurs when we have those people who in effect are rigging the market. And what are they doing again? Rigging the market. Rigging the market. So folks, we got to continue doing what we know we got to do. All right. Okay. Another video up for you guys today. Today, what we're gonna do is talk about why is Actually, no. Before I go with why is Medicare a scam? Okay, Ray's on. Let's get to Ray first. Hello, my dear brother Ray. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, sir. I was listening to that rant, that incoherent rant from Lindsey Graham, and I couldn't help but think to myself, everything he's saying about Donald Trump, about Kamala Harris, is everything I feel about Donald Trump. And
Right.
it's so weird how they do that projection where it's like
Right.
what he's actually describing as the Kamala Harris era of presidency is actually what we would get with Donald Trump. It's so weird how they twist that narrative to make you think it's going to be one way when in all actuality that's the way it is. It's so frustrating seeing that, and there's people that probably watch that and say, you know what, he's right. I can't vote for these extremists. And it's so crazy. Every Democrat, even Joe Biden, for instance, was called an extremist. It's like at this point, anybody who even has a D next to their name is called an extremist, a communist, and all that above. And all they want to do is give people good jobs that they can actually afford to live off of, and housing and rights that can't be taken away by a fascist Supreme Court. And I don't understand what people don't see about the benefits of even taking. So let's say you don't 100% agree with Kamala Harris's plan. I'm just saying, for me, a vote is a chance to have the life that I want, and people just don't see that. It's
Let
a
me
vote is
explain
not a,
something.
like they say, a vote is not a love letter. It's basically it's signing off on saying I trust this person to do this job. That's what it
Exactly.
is.
And the thing about it, Ray, is most of these people, when they see Donald Trump, they see the flawed character that he is. They know that he's a liar. They know that he hasn't really accomplished anything. They know it. They actually know it. And the reason they continue to back him is exactly what Patrick what Ragnar came onto our show and said that I turned into a video. Look, the problem is this: there are a group of people who would try to find every excuse not to vote for somebody because of their own prejudices, but they can't say what those prejudices are because it ain't cool anymore. So they don't do it, right? But the thing about it is, they also know use other techniques, which is constant repetition of the same thing over and over. And one other very important thing, unabashedly lie. In other words, we would lie about anything, and if we are lying about 100% of the things we talk about, then people may say, yeah, he's lying about this, but he may be telling the truth about that, because there's no way he's lying 100% of the times, which in the case of Donald Trump, it is pretty darn close to 100% of the times that he's lying. So, how do you overcome that? Education, education. The problem is when you're in these situations, Ray, is time is usually a factor in education, right? And we don't have much time to educate. So we have to educate on the fly enough people, 50 plus one, and continue the education. One of the problems Democrats do too often is that they don't maintain the continuous education that the Republicans do in uneducation. What I mean by that is, notice how Republicans go after
You're right.
books. Notice how Republicans go after education all of the times. They want their people uneducated. Donald Trump is famous for saying, I love stupid people. I love dumb people. He
Yeah.
said it. He said that he
And
likes
they love him
dumb.
back.
Right. He said it. So, in effect, if you're following him, that means you are telling him something about yourself, right? Now, the thing about it is that what we fail at is after the election is over, we don't invest in a permanent infrastructure that keep people aware with repetition about the truths that we have to talk about. And that is something that we have to learn. When Kamala is elected on November 5th, and I don't think we're going to have to wait till November 6th, 7th, or 8th. I think we'll have all the answers on November 5th. When she's elected on November 5th, it is important that we change the paradigm. And the paradigm has to be continual education. And what we have to do is we have to get people to invest in thousands of politics done right. I mean, thousands of people doing this. The mainstream media can't do this. Thousands of people have to be invested in what we're doing here. We have to create our spheres of PDR passes. PDR passe, here's some other one, there's some we have to grow geometrically, because right now we are in dangerous positions. We have to fight hard for this win here, Ray. We're going to get it. We got to get it. But we got to fight hard for it, because the misinformation and the misinformation that is yet to land is on the horizon. But anything else you want to say, Ray?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out a family friendly way to say this. So, pardon me, I'm gonna say it for all you Trump supporters out there. I know y'all got progressive friends. If y'all have any interest in all of our livelihoods, vote Democrat. And secondly, my phrase that I'm going to try to paraphrase is, there's a saying in the hood. You play kitty cat, you get screwed. That's what I'm thinking.
And you know what? the thing about it, if Trump were to win, the same people that elected him are the ones that are going to get screwed first because they are on the lower socioeconomic in the aggregate on the lower socioeconomic strata. So we'll see. But anyway, let's go
Well,
ahead, folks, and we'll talk later, my brother. Okay?
all right. Hopefully they won't find out before it's too late. But I'll keep
Nah.
watching, Egberto. Take
Thank
care.
you, brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, buddy. All right, folks, keep the energy up and make sure to understand that this stuff is not even close to being over, so we got to keep pushing. All right, here is why Medicare is a parasite. This is the beginning of the show that I did this morning at KPFT, a very important one, if I must say so myself. Here we go.
It's basically allows the insurance companies to use the Medicare funds as a bank account, basically, that they can pull out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a total scam, and the sad thing is, the people that can afford Medicare Advantage, and don't even think about it. It's just another payment because they have the money. Well, what they're doing is they're still undermining Medicare, and the people who will suffer first are the poor or the ones that really get sick.
Brother Jack, thank you. Let me say this, okay? We have a basic problem in our country, and that is we have effectively allowed a sect to lie to us and to make us forget something as simple as math. All insurance always does is pay a bill. And if you are being charged to pay a bill as opposed to not being charged to pay a bill, it will always cost less to not be charged to pay a bill. So this is important, folks. Think about it again. If I charge you to pay a bill, it costs you more than if I decide to pay the bill for you without charging you. But that's not how they want you to think. They being your plutocracy, the people who run the country behind the scenes. Because they want to have you believe that having insurance companies take the Medicare premiums that you have paid in all your life, and every working American pays 3% or so of their salaries to Medicare from the time you picked up and started working. Unlike Social Security, Medicare is paid on all of your income. Let me tell you a little dirty little secret, though. The rich have allowed Congress to define income in many different ways. And what they've done is, you notice sometimes we have a right winger that would come on and say, if you were to tax all the money out of the billionaires, all the income from billionaires, it'll last you 1 year. And I'm surprised it would last that long, because the billionaires' income doesn't come as income IRS classified like your income and my income, wages, etc. Their income comes from something called capital gains. Their incomes comes from borrowing from insurance companies and never paying it back, because they have tactics that says if you are getting income from an insurance company, even if it's backed by your stock, that's not income, so you don't pay taxes on that. There are all kind of magical ways the rich uses to not let their income be considered income, right? So right wingers, open your ears now, my dear brothers and sisters, because they pulled the big hoodwink on you. So when they come out and write a statistic that says, if we were to tax all the income of the rich, it would be done in one, and we'll still have to come back to the regular folks. That's not true. If all the rich owns more than 90% of all the wealth in the country, you have to be uneducated to believe that if they own all the wealth, how could they not own most of the income? Actually, they do own most of the income. Now, here's the thing. But because they classify income differently, things like Social Security, things like Medicare only goes on to generic income. regular wage income. And because it's only on that kind of wage income, the base that gets taxed is much smaller. Even when it comes to, even though when I say, Social Security taxes end at 140 something $1,000 or somewhere in that vicinity. But Medicare taxes go on to all income, but all wage income. It doesn't apply to capital gains income or any of that kind of income. So therefore, we don't even collect as much as we should for Medicare. And then they want some more. What is that more? That more is to say, look, insurance companies never used to insure old people over 65. Why? Because they get sicker. It costs them more money. Their profit margin drops. So what they say is that to hell with old people. We're not going to insure them. And then the government said, okay, we'll create a program called Medicare. And instead of having Medicare for all and Medicare for everybody, they only have Medicare for old people. In other words, they allowed the insurance companies to continue ripping off the regular middle class, etc. And then because the insurance company did insure old people, the government said, okay, we will create a program that insures old people. I'm calling it old people as people that are 65, but 65 was still doing her stuff, man. All right. So the government decided to insure people that are 65. And then the parasites come in, our plutocracy, our oligarchy, our private companies that want to make money on you now. They come in and say, hey, the government is paying out, I don't know, on average, $8,000, $9,000 on every old person for that Medicare program. Imagine if we could tell the government, hey, why don't you let us do it? All right, we'll do it and we'll charge an extra 20% or so. And we take the headaches away from you and we create Medicare Advantage. And by the way, government, you can't give dental. By the way, government, you can't give eye coverage. By the way, government, you can't give ears and you can't pay 100%. Leave all those perks to us. You're going to pay us to make a profit and to give those perks, but you can't do it. So if you notice, traditional Medicare is great. They pay for anything you want because anything you need for your health. That's what Medicare pays, minus 20%. And then you have to get a private insurance company to pay the other 20%. If we got rid of Medicare Advantage, your government, we the people, could pay the entire bill because it's costing us more than 20% more to have the private sector run your insurance. They don't tell you that specifically. If you want to find the data, it's there, but they won't tell you that. And to make more money, they even start doing the things like you have to have pre-authorization for anything that you want to do. You have to get the insurance company to say, okay, do it. And many times they simply delay or deny. Delay or deny. Delay with the expectation that you will die, or deny if they know you will live. Okay? That's what we have. That's our healthcare and Medicare system, Medicare Advantage system. Why? It's the reason I tell everybody who can do it, who can take care of buying their supplemental themselves, or who don't care leaving the 20% hanging or paying the 20% themselves, get traditional, get standard, get the original Medicare. Do not get the privatized Medicare Advantage. It's a scam. And the scam is even getting deeper. I want you to listen to this. Yesterday, as I was playing and talking about Medicare Advantage and Medicare, and the reason I'm doing a whole lot of this right now is because this is a time when they try to get you, they bribe you to get Medicare Advantage. They take you out to dinner. They take you out to lunch. They lie to you and say, oh, buy Medicare Advantage. And then the person selling you the Medicare Advantage, they make $2,000, $3,000 for every person they sell that Medicare Advantage to. If they can make that kind of money, you can imagine how much a corporation is making. You can imagine what the corporation is making. So I have a video to play with a story. And what I'm trying to do is bring real stories of where Medicare Advantage has actually affected people. And it's even affecting unions now, because many unions, in order to save money, they've fallen for the hoodwink. They've fallen for the hoodwink. And when people realize that they've fallen for the hoodwink, by then it's too late. And they're stuck with lousy Medicare Advantage.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do,
Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. Now, here's the deal. Yeah, Egberto, if we switch to a Medicare for all system where government covers everyone, our nation would save $450 billion while saving 70,000 lives per year. There was a Yale study not too long ago that said as much. Privatized healthcare is such a scam. It's not only a scam, it's also murder. I think we should start calling it for what it is. Privatize that healthcare is murder. Okay, let's just remember that. Now, and I want you to listen to this teacher that's going to talk now, because what she did is she did her own homework. But in doing her own homework, she illustrates how terrible Medicare Advantage really is. Anything with private healthcare is terrible. Check this out. As anybody approaching 65 knows, it's around this time that the Medicare Advantage parasitic health insurance companies start to convince or try or attempt to move either those just joining or going into Medicare or those who already use Medicare. They're attempting their best to have all these people transition into Medicare Advantage. It is if you want to know how profitable Medicare Advantage is for the insurance company, not for your health, but for the insurance company, just look at the amount of money they are spending on TV ads, print ads, radio ads, everywhere you go. Medicare Advantage. We have a Medicare Advantage plan. It seems like they're starting to tell a little bit about the truth where they're saying that the Medicare Advantage is sort of not Medicare, but you know, they're still being dishonest. The one thing that they seem to have to tell you now is all of it has to be renewed every year, which means, of course, that even if you got onto a good plan, you can be kicked off and have to go searching for a plan and hope that it's good. But by then, they know they got you because you have 6 months in which to get good rates for the traditional Medicare's Medigap. So, follow the whole history of Medicare in the link that goes with this particular video. But again, one of the things I always advise people is do not take Medicare Advantage. Stick with traditional Medicare only if you simply cannot, under any circumstances, afford Medicare. Is the reason for you to take Medicare Advantage. That's the absolutely only reason. Otherwise, you will likely pay for it with your life. Right now, let me just tell you, I know I'm saying it. In effect, I'm saying if you can't afford it, your life is at risk. You have to take Medicare Advantage. But here's the thing. We continue to fight for healthcare for all, folks. So we are not forgetting those people that are left on Medicare Advantage because they have to. We say, wing it for now. We are fighting hard. We need to make sure that we elect people who will allow us to move over to single payer healthcare for all, Medicare for all, or whatever you want to call it. We have to work towards that. But today, I want to give yet another story of somebody who did the right thing. Her union was coercing her into taking Medicare Advantage in the union's plan. She's a teacher. And she looked into it. She realized that she would not get the best care. She realized that the doctors that she wanted would not be there. She realized that there was no guarantee that the medicine she wants would be there. And she said, no. I want you to listen to her story, and then we'll take it on the other side. I want to go to Joe. Come on in, Joe. Line number 2.
Good morning. I wanted to tell you my story. I was an HISD teacher. When I reached 65, I was ready to retire. I had been teaching for 35 years. I thought that was long enough. And then I started having to find out about Medicare and the insurance that the teachers program was providing for me. And what I discovered, which was not easy to do, they don't make it easy to know the truth. But I found out that what the state was offering me for health coverage was a Medicare Advantage plan. And I already knew the disadvantages of Medicare Advantage. But what I also found out was if I had accepted, which, by the way, they said, if you don't accept this Medicare Advantage that we're offering you, you will never be able to get back into our healthcare system. Once you opt out, you're out. Never can you come back even as a former teacher, as a retired teacher. No, you can never come back to us. So I said, well, I want to find out more. And I found out that what they were offering me, I was no longer going to be able to see any of my doctors. I'm seen at Baylor. I have cancer. I have many other problems. And I already had established specialist that I needed to continue seeing. But under their plan, I was no longer going to be able to go to any of my doctors. Also, if I really got sick, I could not even go to any hospitals in the medical center. I live inside the loop, but I was going to have to go to Memorial Hermann Hospital, way out at Gesner and the freeway. I couldn't go to my hospital. I couldn't go to my doctors. I told them, take your plan and shove it. But what I had to do was find my own secondary insurance. I took regular Medicare, which I love. It covers almost everything. And then my 20% additional, my secondary, I purchased myself. Now, it's not been easy because there's a very high monthly premium. As a matter of fact, in the last couple of years, I have paid more for my premiums than my secondary insurance has paid for my care. Anyway, that's my story. And I think more people need to know what the state of Texas has done to teachers. They've given them a really raw deal. And HISD especially, I don't even get Social Security because HISD opted out of Social Security. So that's my story. Thank you.
Joe, notice I wanted you to tell your story uninterrupted because your story is the story of hundreds of thousands of Texans. Your story is the story of millions of Americans, ill-informed, misinformed by both the corporate structure and to some extent, even some of these unions who've made deals with the private sector providing insurance. And nobody could have told that story any better than the person who lived it. And in that case, it's you. Yes. What I want to congratulate you on is being forthright, and not just forthright, my dear, but also to go out there and find out on your own. Independent thinking saved your life. Because had you gone with that program and they provided you with substandard insurance and substandard quality of care, those of us that are listening to you today would not have had the privilege to be informed by your own experience. So I want to thank you so kindly for calling us, Joe, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for your program.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, Medicare Advantage is making the bet that most people would not do the amount of work that Joe did for herself to make sure she made the right choices. And most people don't have the wherewithal to do that. And I am hoping that the trust that you have in some of us that are telling you, do not take Medicare Advantage. And if you're being sold any plan, you make sure to have that salesperson tell you this is not Medicare Advantage and get it on tape. You want traditional Medicare and a Medigap plan? That's it, not Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is just an advantage to make a lot of money for the insurance company and to deny you health care and to likely make you sicker. Some people will have good plans for a certain amount of time, but there are no guarantees. When you sign up for Medicare, you have Medicare for life. When you sign up for Medicare Advantage, you are at the behest of those insurance companies. And you know what? You know what they care about first? Profit first. And they will put you into whatever slum plan necessary for them to be able to make their profits. Please, folks, the way we ensure that Medicare Advantage dies is for us not to sign up for it. Because if we stop signing up for Medicare Advantage, it'll die on the vine because they need that influx of new people continuously. We can get rid of Medicare Advantage. And how do we get rid of Medicare Advantage? We get rid of Medicare Advantage by starving it. Folks, stick with Medicare so that it dies on its own. That's what we must do. Joe, we're proud of you. We are absolutely proud of Joe. Anyway, folks, please, that's the last video that we have. Please go ahead and remember to support the program. How can you support the program? Go to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. But what we really want is for all our listeners to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. That would be a great step forward and will help us to get some help to put all of this together. As you can see, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to do all of this, but we have a purpose. Please consider becoming a subscriber to our newsletter, a paid subscriber, by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Anyway, folks, got to get out of here. I'm going to get out a couple minutes early, get some other calls that we got to make. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.